So welcome, Rob Ruth.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So Rob is a well-known expert on the subject of preeminence. He's graciously consented to do this interview to share his extensive knowledge and experience so every business leader can understand how to strike back and win against a world that I think is just pounding us every day, trying to marginalize and commoditize us. So Rob, again, thank you for agreeing to the interview. First, let's give our audience the opportunity to learn a little bit more about your background and your experience so they can understand who you are and where you're coming from. And then we can jump into kind of the thoughts of the State of the Union in terms of how to differentiate your brand. So can you tell us a little bit about you? What's your background?
Sure. So I am a second-generation car dealer. We've been in business for 36 years. I started full-time, my first job was taking out the trash when I was 8 years old. You're sitting in my kitchen. When I was a child, my father and I lived here at our car dealership.
That saves money.
It saves some money for him. Yeah, that's how we got started.
Yep.
I came full-time in the year 2000. I worked my way up in the car business as a sales rep, sales manager, general sales manager, general manager, and now ultimately the dealer. So that's my experience. I went to Clemson University.
We won't hold that against you.
Right. That's my formal education. That's a little bit about me.
What kind of things have you done or different experiences have you had, especially as it relates to trying to be unique or differentiate your business that you think the audience of business leaders could benefit from?
I think that, you said it earlier, we're a commoditized business.
Yep.
Our product is not unique. Yep. We're selling a Ford product, which, our competitors have the same product.
How many competitors do you have around here?
No, we're in a small town. We have 16 Ford dealers in a 40-mile radius.
It's a lot.
So we're competing against the same market, the same people. The biggest thing that I've found and what I think is most successful, and the only thing that separates us is just the experience that we can give our customer. So the customer experience, I believe, is the only way to differentiate yourself, how you do business with people versus what you're selling.
And I want to get into some specifics on that in a second. So the great thing is you've obviously been around the block when it comes to this type of topic because, as you said, when you have 16 different competitors in a very small mile radius around you, right? You're not in some huge metro market. And he's being a little humble here. This store sells over 300 new and used vehicles per month, correct?
Correct.
So that's an incredible job.
Yeah.
So for you to excel at a high level, like you said, in a very commoditized market, and it's getting more and more so every day, obviously that takes, there's a lot of things you're doing right, and that's what we want to expose to the audience here today. So have you had any type of formal education or training, or has a lot of this been just on the job?
Mostly on the job,
Yep.
To be honest. I'm fortunate. My father was a self-made kind of guy, grew up very poor, and his philosophy for me was to kind of go through the ranks the same way. It was not a handed thing by any means. So I was forced to learn so many different aspects of my own business. It was kind of the best and worst education I could have had. You wore a lot of different hats. You learned to multitask, and just to grow, I knew that I had to kind of teach other people to do some of the things that I had learned.
Well, when you got to go through that, you probably learn it at a very deep level.
Very.
And
you learn what works and what doesn't work.
Right.
So I have a lot of trial and error and a lot of failures along the way. But I think that they're all good. They've taught me a good education, and I think now I'm at the point where I'm really looking outside the box and really, leadership development of myself and how do I multiply my own skills into other people.
Grant Cardone, I know that you do a lot of stuff with him, and he's got a great saying that if you don't invest in yourself, why should you expect your customers to?
100%. Yeah. So that's our focus, is really just focusing on ourselves, and me personally focusing on me, and then leading my team to understand that hey, we all want more, and to get more, we have to, we can't do things the way that we always have. So that's our thing.
With your level of success and with some of the things you just said, it's one of the reasons I was so excited to interview you. And the reason I say that is I think a lot of ways the Move, Crush, Count audience, they're dealing with a lot of the same challenges that you've already went through and a lot of the ones that you're dealing with now. For instance, a lot of business, even outside of them, have a lot of competitors, right? They have competitors that could be a lot larger than them. My own business, I have to compete against Cox Automotive. So they're buying companies $3 and $4 billion at a time.
Sure.
So, some competitors have huge advertising budgets, right? I love where we're sitting here today because a lot of the people we compete against, and that you're competing against have museums for facilities, right? Mm-hmm. That is not what you're dealing with here, and so
not even close.
Yeah, and so and even locations, whether it's a metro market or a more rural market. So, and I think this marginalizes a lot of people in a very big and painful way. And so, if there was one thing, so you said you've done a lot of on-the-job training. If there was one thing a tip that you wish someone had given you very early on, that instead of taking this long, 10, 15 years for you to learn to become as successful as you are today, what is that one tip that you wish someone gave you up front that could have drastically shortened that learning curve that you think would be relevant to the business leaders listening today?
I think the tip would be to really focus on yourself and not try to compete against and be like everybody else too. Just like you said, differentiate your own business, look at your own operations, and how do you continue to better your own operations versus just following what the masses are doing.
So you mentioned earlier customer experience. So I can go through and listen and talk to dealer after dealer, and they all say that. But I walked in your store today, right? And you actually feel a difference here. I was greeted at the door was open for me. And listen, we're coming in with bags of equipment so we can video this and record this. We're clearly not here buying or shopping a car. And I've walked through a lot of stores, but the sincerity in your people were genuine, extremely friendly, courteous, and there's a different atmosphere and feeling when you walk in the door. So I know you're not just saying customer experience, but for the sake of our listeners, let's get into some specifics on that, because it's one thing to hear a TV commercial says, well, we give you a better customer experience. The customer doesn't know what that means. So you've got to live it, right? You've got to really believe it. So what is that for you guys? How does that happen?
I think it just starts with the employee experience. I think that there's a huge shift in just leadership in a business today versus the past. And I understand that everyone that works here has a choice to come to work every day, and I want it to be the right choice for them too. Yeah. So if my focus is on really giving back to them and getting to know them personally a little bit better, and what their why is and why they're coming to work, and really focusing on helping them achieve those things, then it does come back to the business, and ultimately it goes to the customer as well. So I think the employee experience and just changing just some of the norms of the way businesses operate from where they were years ago until now, I think that's the huge shift that needs to happen.
How, for someone that might be stuck trying to get that started, right? Because that's easier said than done.
Yeah.
All right. And you had mentioned getting to know people maybe on a little bit more personal level, getting more involved. But how long does that typically take to shift that culture to go from point A to where you're at now?
I don't think it's an immediate shift.
Yeah.
By any means. I think it's just
you mean you can't just tell people I care?
No. I think you have to show them every day. They know that I'm fully vested into making this a better place to work, making it a better environment for them, better for the consumer. It's just a mind shift, and then it has to multiply, not just one person. It has to go out from many people. So that's the challenge. And, for us, it's a family business. It started as a family business, a small town. And my goals have always been to keep that kind of atmosphere and grow at the same time. So that's kind of the challenge.
Why is that better for your customers?
Because they trust you. They feel more comfortable.
And so I think we're onto something there. So when we talk about the strategy of preeminence, and it's one of the reasons I follow you on Instagram. By the way, he's got like 20,000 followers, so you're doing an outstanding job there. But this is not something you just say. You believe it. And the strategy of preeminence, it basically, preeminence means surpassing all others. And in my opinion, you cannot remove yourself from being a commodity if you believe you're a commodity or you believe your service is just like everybody else. So I think there are a lot of business leaders out there that might say, well, we have a better customer experience or we do this better. But deep down, do they really believe it? And I know you do. I see how you're interacting with people. I watch your stories on Instagram. They're phenomenal. You can see it's real. And I think that's from an outsider looking in, and one of the reasons I really wanted to talk to you, because I think one of the biggest things that you can help other business leaders is it starts with what's between your ears.
100%.
And how you believe. And I mean, you live this. And so talk to us. How did you get there? Is that some people that comes natural, but this is a tough industry for that to.
I don't think it comes natural. I mean, some of it comes natural. Okay, wanting to help people comes natural.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I like about what I do, whether it's a customer or an employee. Seeing somebody, knowing that you made a positive influence on them, that gives you fulfillment. Okay, but I think our generation, we were just taught to grind. We were just taught to grind, and that'll take you so far. But eventually, unless you're really multiplying and having more people that are going to be able to work like you did and understand what it took to get to these levels, you're going to hit a certain point that you're not going to pass. Okay?
I think Gary Vee says a good thing, and he likes to promote a lot. We're foolish as business owners to think that all of our employees are going to care and put in the same amount of effort as we do. He goes, maybe they will if we pay them the same.
Possibly.
That we make.
Yeah. but I think that they all want. Sometimes they think that it's better than it is, even from a leadership position, and it's like, oh, you have it so easy. Yeah. Well, you have the responsibility of so many different people, and unless you really care about bettering themselves, then it isn't. It's a selfish thing, and that's really only going to take you so far. So once I think that you can develop these relationships with the people that work for you or the customers, and know that you're sincere to help them reach their goals and show them the path to do it through your organization, I don't think that you're really going to get to another level.
And so getting back to how this benefits the customer, you truly believe you create a better experience because you've got a better team of people, it sounds like.
100%.
And you've went into detail in terms of how you've gotten them, how you've built that culture.
Correct.
And so what's great about that strategy and that mindset is that if you believe that's what separates you and you believe you are truly better, strategy of preeminence, then I would imagine you spend a large amount of your day, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong or give me some detail on this. You spend a lot of time investing in how do I continue to do and build that, because I've built the trust up of my community in this way, of my own team in this way, and I want to keep it. It probably forces you to, like you said, focus on yourself and constantly improve that.
Yeah. Focus on myself at being a better leader, and then focusing on the skill set that I've learned over 19 years on helping other people learn those things, helping them advance their own careers.
So, all right, I'm stuck. Let's just say I'm stuck, right? I'm having trouble. I want this great culture, and I'm hearing what you're saying, and I agree, because I'm looking for something to differentiate myself, and it has to start with a winning attitude within myself. What do I do? What's the first step I take?
I think you humble yourself if you're stuck, and I think that you open your ears up a little bit more and you listen to the people around you. There's a lot of good minds out there besides just your own that might have great ideas, and truly listen to it and take it to heart and make those changes.
So as it relates to what's really helping you stand out above the people you compete against, right? Really differentiate yourself. Who are some of the people that you think are making a big difference that you would advise the audience here to pay more attention to?
Well, you said Grant Cardone.
Yep.
I mean, his mindset is, we've watched in the car business, we've watched his evolution from a car salesman to a, multi-millionaire. I think he's on to something amazing. I watch him and I watch Gary Vee. The two people those are the people that I watch the most.
Yeah. The same.
And I just try to stay focused. I think if you follow too many different people, you can get all over the place. So.
Well, that leads me to my other question. I was going to say, where do you come up with your ideas, and how do you keep from getting overwhelmed or overloaded with that? Because as a business owner, as a business leader, and for the leaders out there, it's easy for us to sometimes come up with all these great ideas, and right, we want them integrated, but we don't always have the capacity to do it ourselves, and neither does our team. So how do you kind of prioritize that, and so it doesn't just overwhelm you?
I just try to keep things simple in a complex world. Just keep things really simple. Some of the greatest ideas that we've had that have worked are ones that don't come from me, because coming from me, it's like it's forced upon. Hey, we're going to do this. It takes a long time to sell a lot of different people and move a big machine a different direction.
Yeah.
So a lot of the ideas we've had have come from employees or outside of myself. And then when they're bought in, it's easy and like, that's a great idea. Let's go, and holding people accountable to their own ideas is a lot easier than forcing my own ideas onto them.
Well, you don't have to sell them
Correct.
on the idea.
So you're committed to absolutely me too. Let's go. Then that accountability it's a lot easier.
What kind of major changes have you seen when it comes to differentiating yourself or your brand, right, since you got started? Because a lot has changed over these years.
I think that at first it was all about price.
Okay.
Everything was price driven.
Yep.
Got to be the lowest price.
Yep.
Well, now everything's so transparent.
Well, everybody's already tied.
Everybody is already
Race to
the price war. It's a race to the bottom. Okay.
That's right.
So price, you don't have a choice. If you're not competitive in price, you're not even going to get any activity.
And just for the audience out there, there's no strategic advantage to having the second lowest price.
I think overall you just have to be very competitive in price. If you're not competitive in price, you're not going to get any attention.
That's right.
You're not going to get this. That's step one.
Yep.
Okay, then step two. Then you have to figure out how to differentiate yourself. Then I think it goes back to customer experience, which we talked about, the employee experience. Then our price is good. Now, how can you help me
and so
solve my problems?
What I like about what you've talked about here today so far is it doesn't have to just stay in auto.
No.
All right, you're talking about building a team, building a culture, you're trying to build trust and have done a very successful job of building trust with your customers and your prospects in your marketplace. And so that applies to every business vertical. It doesn't matter what you do.
Agree.
And so I love that. A few weeks ago, we had the privilege, and I discussed this with you earlier. We interviewed Corky Taylor. He's the CEO of Kentucky Peerless Distilling, and gave me a great idea. I'm always looking for ideas outside of the verticals we're in, because I think some things that can be common in one vertical can have a huge and immediate impact when it's brought into a different industry.
I think getting stuck, if you stay in your own space, me recently as well, I've gone outside of the car business just to get ideas and see what other industries are doing and try to implement them into an industry that is just so competitive, and everyone's worried about, the competition versus, okay, well, how do I be unique?
And I think that is where the breakthroughs come. I think you have to be able to recognize what's going on outside your industry and say, how can I easily integrate or apply that to what I'm doing? And so,
correct.
Are there some examples you can give us where you've done
Amazon
that?
is the obvious. Okay, so that's what we're used to.
Yeah.
I would assume you use Amazon.
Right.
You want something at home, you condition yourself in 20 seconds or less, you can have it delivered at your door tomorrow morning.
How do you think Amazon's great? I'm glad you brought that up. How do you think Amazon has shaped your customers as it relates to you?
It's just conditioned them on how they want to do business.
Yeah.
And it continues to go in that way.
Amazon's basically training us how to buy.
Correct.
Or
now,
what our expectations.
In my industry, you can't go and my product is not on Amazon as of yet. Okay.
Yeah.
But the same people that buy on Amazon are buying my product. So you have to learn how to be very efficient. Okay, so most people want to go on their cell phone or desktop and, do the majority of their business quickly. So we're changing just the way that we handle a customer and just taking a process that was very difficult and time consuming in the past and just shortening it up, especially to those that want that type of transaction and give them a great experience while doing it.
And so one thing I'd like or encourage the listeners to do is also go to your website. So bobruth.ford.com.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I say that is I want them to take a look at your facilities, because I know that there are a lot of people, you're somewhat landlocked, and recently you've done some things to help you with that, but there are a lot of people that would come up with excuses as to why they can't succeed at the level you're succeeding at. That didn't stop you. Talk to us. How do you overcome all that?
I think it's actually our advantage in business because I had to learn to work with what I had. Okay, so it makes you very efficient. We don't have a great location. Okay, we're not easy to get to. There's a barrier from the highway to even get to our facility.
Can't turn left.
Can't turn left. Yep. It doesn't look pretty. We were landlocked. We knew we needed to expand. There was nowhere to go. Things had happened. We had plans. Those plans changed. Fortunately, I did acquire some land, so there's future expansion. But I also have to make sure that I make good decisions for the whole company, that I don't go too fast, increase expenses to the point where our operations can't handle it.
Yep.
So again, just efficiency and just each transaction with every customer, that we have a standard procedure that we go through and move fast. Speed.
And so you're innovating your way through your challenge.
Correct.
And in turn,
my only option.
Yeah, and if I'm a consumer, right, and you've found a way, because for business survival that you have to be extremely efficient, that is a way. That's probably one of the top ways that you could separate yourself from everybody else. Because if I'm a consumer and I'm coming in to service my car, I don't want to, no offense, I love you, but I don't want to be in your dealership for 2 or 3 hours.
Turn your inventory as fast as you can.
That's right.
That's what we've learned to do.
Yeah. So from a customer experience standpoint, and what can help you separate yourself from everybody else, are finding those innovations and finding a way to become more efficient.
Correct.
Yeah. And so the biggest thing that I heard when you said that, though, was you didn't view it as an obstacle.
No, it's made us better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's made us much better.
And that goes back to that
Better
strategy
operators.
of preeminence. And that's exactly why I wanted to talk to you. So what would you say, where do you think, not just in your industry, but in business in general, but if you want to be specific, you can, where are the big challenges that you're facing right now?
I think the big challenge is just, we talked about culture, okay?
Yep.
And the majority of the population has been baby boomers. Now it's coming to millennials, okay? And there's a huge gap between the baby boomers and the millennials. I kind of fit right in between that. And, there's times that I lean towards the baby boomers and some of their wisdom. And then there's other times I'm like, there's great ideas coming here from younger generations. They're kind of the resistors, the disruptors, but there's some great things that you can learn from them as well. So putting that all together, because you still need the baby boomers, and but you need the fresh ideas, the energy, the drive, that's the challenge. And I think it's a great opportunity, and we've done that here, and just learning from both sides of the spectrum.
So you've spent a lot of time talking today about making sure you listen to your employees, learn from them, adopt a lot of good ideas that they have for a lot of reasons. But you just brought up something else, and I kind of want to shift directions a little bit here. The millennials get a bad rap. I mean, if you talk to a lot of people your age, my age, there's not always positive things being said about that generation, especially when it comes to their employment and what they accomplish. However, you said there's a lot I can learn from them, and I like to take the best of that. What are the best that you've taken from them?
I think just their ease of technology. I mean, that's one thing. I mean, they're just so used to using technology for everything. So you've got such a competitive advantage if you can, take that mentality, which people our age and older really struggle with a lot of those things. But that's where the industries are going. That's the way people are going to do business. Millennials get a bad rap because they just don't want a work environment the way that their parents or grandparents had.
Right.
And then you get this argument of, well, who's right and who's wrong? Well, maybe, you just have to kind of mesh them all together. You can't just bring a millennial into your organization and just expect them to just love the environment if you treat them like, even the way we were treated or generation.
They could never survive the way I was treated.
And, we didn't love that either.
No.
I think that we always want to evolve and, better ourselves. Well, maybe they're not always wrong.
Well, and this goes to what we've been talking about, because if you're going to build a great culture and elevate your team, right? Because if that's going to be what separates you from everybody else, and you want that to really carry out, in the end, you're building this culture because that culture means nothing if no one's coming in and buying. So that needs to separate you and differentiate you from everybody else, right? Well, the majority of your workforce, or at least a high percentage of it, it's going to continue to evolve to that generation.
Correct.
So
you have to be attractive to them.
Yes.
You're not going to sell them to come in and do things the way that they don't want to do. They're not going to necessarily change.
That's right.
So you have to change yourself and become attractive that bring them to you.
Yep.
That, I think, is the huge opportunity.
One of the things I've noticed with them, I feel like one trait that they're very good at, and you touched on with technology, and I think that's what really helps with this, is their ability to multitask.
Correct. They work smarter, not harder.
Yes.
We were taught to work hard. Now, if you can work smart and hard, okay, I think you're putting it all together.
It's a better combination.
Correct. Right.
So let me ask you this. Where do you think business leaders should focus their efforts if they want to succeed both short-term and long-term?
I think we touched on it. Customer experience and, culture of your organization. I think those are the biggest opportunities. And I think just having an open mind to new strategies, new technologies, social media, doing a podcast, like just not doing what you always did. That's your biggest opportunity.
Where do you think your biggest, so let's talk about opportunities for a second. So, and I think one thing that obviously the internet has done, it's created some challenges and some potential obstacles, but I really think it's created tremendous opportunities for dealers that recognize it.
Yep.
And one of the things, let's face it, the buying and shopping journey is 100% different. It's night and day compared to 10 to 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so what percentage of people would you say when they come up to your brick and mortar location already have an idea or know what they want?
95%.
All right. So that means they're doing all their research prior to their getting here.
Yep.
So how do you get more people where do you see the opportunity to really grow if you're not influencing people as much the way you used to? In other words, in the past, you might be influencing them to come here because they need to come here for information.
Correct.
That no longer exists.
Right.
So now you have to, if you don't get that opportunity, what, in your opinion, is where's the either the challenge or the opportunity to get more people into your marketing or your sales funnel, and what needs to change or improve, not only in auto, but in anybody?
Their home experience. You have to their experience doesn't start like in the car business. People used to visit 4 dealers on average before a decision. Now it's down to 1.
Yeah.
So they know what they want. They're kind of isolating and go. So you have to take that pre-facility experience and really focus on it and how you can be transparent, how you can get them as much information as they're looking for, build some trust to ultimately get them into that sales funnel like you talked about.
And so I was watching and I think that applies to every industry because
Correct.
the internet's not only in auto.
Correct.
So everyone is either shopping or something before they go pick it up or look at it if that's what
digital presence is huge.
Correct. And so, if what would be your advice to business leaders out there, whether it's auto or another industry, in the sense that I'm going to use your specific store as an example or situation. I'm mid to upper funnel right now. All right. I'm not ready to buy. But for whatever reason, I stumbled. Maybe it was an ad you did. I am on your lot, and I've somehow converted, and I am now in your marketing funnel and lead, right? Your BD, your business development center might be calling me, they're emailing me, they're texting me, they're doing all these things. But what type of communication has to happen for that person that's just starting the shopping experience versus someone that's low funnel and closer to a decision?
I think you just have to start a relationship with them and build trust, So me building trust is giving you information, giving you what you want, being transparent, letting you know that, hey, I'm here to help you, whether you're at our store or sitting at home on your couch. I want to do whatever we can to assist you in buying from us.
And so I think and the way we were brought up, you talked about grinding. Where does the industry, on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being not very good, 10 being great, where is the industry in terms of handling those type of conversations?
My industry?
Yes.
Probably like a 2 or 3.
So it's been my experience because I talk to a lot of different stuff. We're all about the same. Mm-hmm. I talk to Fortune 100 companies. I talk to some companies that are top 5 in the world. So one of our clients, Shell Oil. We all have similar challenges and obstacles and things such as that. The things that I struggle with in my own business, when I am talking with them, they're having the same issues, the same challenges. Now theirs is on a much bigger scale, right. But the root cause to the issue is the same. And so the reason I asked you that question, 2 or 3, I would agree with you. And the reason I say that is I pay a lot of attention to the processes of a lot of people within our industry. I see a lot of posts online, and I see the horror stories. Well, I'll make a post, and I get random people that comment about their buying experience or their shopping experience. I wasn't ready to buy yet, but I did reach out to the store because I needed more information here. But all the store wanted to do, because we grind.
We were taught to just get them in.
How can you get in? How can you get in?
Get them in the door.
Correct.
Get them in the door.
And they're not ready yet.
Whatever you need to do to get them in the door.
So how does a business leader, it's not isolated, how does a business leader teach and elevate their people to be able to better recognize where the buyer is?
Well, I think you just have to almost forget the things that you were taught, which is very difficult, and realize you're not the only one that was taught that. So your whole organization was like that. So you have to keep educating and communicating and repeating and repeating and repeating the fact that consumer behavior has changed.
Yes. And
the way that they buy things today is different than it was even 5 years ago. So until you actually really recognize that and realize that unless we change the way that we try to sell, you've got a huge disconnect, and you have a lot of guarded people already because they're facing that resistance at most businesses. We have to put the buyer at ease, and we have to make them feel comfortable, establish some trust, even if it's our own business that operated a certain way years ago. So that's a shift even in the consumer. And I went to your business 15 years ago, and this is how it was treated. Well, I understand. We'll take responsibility for that. Understand also that, hey, we recognize that, and we're doing everything we can to shift a different way. Yeah.
What kind of major events or developments do you see on the immediate future for people when it comes to differentiating themselves, distinguishing their business?
Major events. I just think I think that you're going to see larger businesses that do higher volume. Okay, because I think that a lot of mom and pop companies are not going to be able to survive through some of the challenges that we've talked about. So, and then the challenge is if you're doing a larger volume of business, continuing to give that great service, that your quality doesn't go down as your business grows. That's a major event that you're going to see, and I think you're going to see a lot of people. We've had some good times here the last 10 years or so now.
Well, and
8 years.
And I want to go back to your levels of success. And so, you brought up 10 years. Well, that takes us back to a pretty dark time in terms of the nation's economy, and that's that recession, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but you actually grew.
I did.
How?
Courage, I guess. I don't know. I saw the marketplace pulling back. I saw competition pulling back, and I just did the complete opposite. I increased my advertising. I picked up good personnel. I just hit the gas pedal when everyone was hitting the brakes. And I think that we're in times like that again. And I see it, and I talk about it to my staff all the time. I said, here's what's going to happen. Now it's happening with us already. So they have some trust in me once they realize that, hey, we hit the gas pedal. I see opportunities. I want to strike.
And that goes back to your mindset.
Yeah.
You see things as an advantage or an opportunity versus an obstacle or a challenge. And it has to become much easier for you to come up with solutions when you're coming from that type of mindset versus the opposite.
It's all how you think.
Yeah.
If you think it's bad, it's bad.
Yeah.
If you look at even something that's a problem and say, we can overcome this. This is a huge opportunity for us.
And it's
a
much
whole different mindset.
This whole show is about differentiating yourself, right?
Yeah.
How you not be painted into that commodity corner. And so when times get rough and everybody else pulls back, first off, every study in the world shows that the companies that get more aggressive or at least maintain their marketing levels, the marketing that's working, that is, during those times, always gain market share on everybody else. But when you really think about it, if everyone else is pulling out, it's a lot easier to stand out, isn't it, and be different?
It is.
Whether it's attracting people, like you said,
right,
or just growing the market share and
it's
sales.
Not just about sales. It's just you need good quality people.
Yeah.
So when companies are pulling back and when they're retreating and they're in fear mode, those that have the courage to just move forward, trudge ahead. I think that's where you can make big gains.
How would you sum up everything we discussed today in a few final thoughts and advise the audience?
I just think you need to embrace change. You just, you can't be content. You just have to, you got to want more for yourself, for your family, for your people that, that follow you. You want to provide better lives, and you have to change. You can't do the things that, we were taught. You have to keep somewhat of an open mind and just go with it. Solve the problems.
Well, I want to thank you.
Yeah.
It's an incredible interview, and I'm confident that the business leaders in the audience learned a lot of new information, right? Hopefully looked at things, and we challenged the way they think, and they're looking at things differently when it comes to the foundations of differentiating their business and their brand. And it really, if there's one thing I want them to take away from this, goes back to the strategy, which is the number one reason I wanted to talk to you, which is the strategy of preeminence, because it impacts them directly and indirectly. So I want to thank you for your expertise and your experiences. Man, that was well done.
Thank you.